Every 3 seconds, someone is diagnosed with dementia. Every 6 seconds, someone is diagnosed with Alzheimer's. This is an epidemic. Well, hi, everyone. I'm Dr. Partha, Nandi, and welcome to the first episode of Heal Your Gut, Save Your Brain. You know, we appreciate you taking the time and joining us. You got lots of stuff to do, so I appreciate it. And I love the fact that, you know, I'm here with my amazing wife, Callie. And I feel like this is, is it Kelly and Mark in the morning? Just very, exactly like that,
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah, so we're like twins.
We are, exactly.
Kind of.
So Callie's, you know, an amazing. She's a nurse. She's an RN. She is an amazing wife, obviously, and life partner, but also amazing mom to our kids. So thanks for taking the time and joining. I know there's a lot going on all the time, and I think you the way we live our life and how we actually approach things. I think it's great that you can talk about that with me, and it's kind of the first thing that we've done.
I'm excited to have you guys here and listening to this. And my guess is that you found this podcast because you're interested in health and wellness and gut health. And, you know, we work and live in health space for years, for 10 years. And we know so many people, but I really don't know anyone that is as passionate about taking care of people and taking care of patients and educating people about gut health and overall health and wellness than you are. So I'm excited to help usher in some of the dialogue so that people can really see what I get to see every single day. And let's just face it, it takes guts to be here. It takes guts to look at a podcast that talks about health instead of, you know, I don't know, I could name a lot of different celebrities that are, you know, colorful to follow.
Yeah. And I also love, it's a little different take. I love that I'm working with you, and there's so much we do together. It's nice to do this where we can actually talk to people and people can see that. And that to me is it's an honor for me to be able to, for people to see what we do together, you know? So that's very cool. And again, we're going to give some great tips, but I think the other thing is that the dimension that you bring to all of the stuff that we do, including our own family, I think it'd be cool to be able to talk about that. You know, it's going to be not all scientific and kind of like, this is the 2019 gut study about little bugs and what they did in the petri dish, but really like, hey, you know what? Our kids had to go to a birthday party and they had a choice between carrots and pizza. and how do we navigate that? I mean, that's real life, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I talk about the studies and that's all super important. But it's as important as that we as a family have to make those choices every day for ourselves. You know, I'm traveling, I'm at the Delta Lounge, and there's this amazing, whatever, cheesy, gooey thing.
Conglomeration
and then next
of
to
stuff.
It is like
grapes,
the carrot sticks and the salad. And so those are the choices. And then to me, if you don't have the reason why you're doing it, it doesn't really matter, right? Because you will not be sustaining it unless you have a why. To me, the why is all of us, like you, our kids, and I want to be around and thrive. And I think that we talk about this, and
well,
it's
the two of us have
so
so much we want to accomplish in life that I want to make sure we stay healthy up until the very end.
100%.
So we have
100%.
so much we want to do.
And we drive each other, right? I mean, it's just like we hold each other accountable in many different ways. So, although I think that it's cool for me to talk to people about that because they may have seen me alone doing this, but it's nice to be able to see what happens after the camera when we get home, the stuff we talk about when the kids go to bed. You know, we'll talk about sleep and how important it is, but we struggle because we talk about some of the things we're going to talk to you about after the kids are in
into the hours
bed.
of the night. Yeah.
So anyway, but yeah, we'll talk about gut health. We'll talk about how gut health affects the brain, and so I think it's going to be important.
Speaking of guts, Dr. Nandi, tell us about the impetus behind the book, Heal Your Gut, Save Your Brain. I know it's been a passion of yours for quite a few years when our life really changed.
Yeah, you know, well, you know about this, but letting him know is that my dad passed away. You know, my dad was was my first hero. When I wrote my first book, it was also directed really with his life story. My dad was a brilliant man, polymer chemist. He invented road reflectors, and you know this, but they don't, is that, when you drive at night and you see these little reflective tape.
I mean, it's
at
like
night,
pretty badass.
You're driving and you don't get off the road. My dad invented that. And so he was just a brilliant scientist.
The other thing he invented for the U.S. military was a substance that you can drop down from an airplane and it'll harden within 30 minutes so you can fly around and you can land on a landing strip.
He had a big brain. He had a really big
brilliant
brain.
person.
So, and then he was a great cook. He was like a Renaissance man. He could cook, he could sing. I remember my mom went on a cruise with him, and then within like 2 hours, he had 10, 15, 20 people coming.
I've never heard
because he
that
could
story.
read he read their palms.
Oh, that's so
He was sitting there reading his
I didn't know
palms.
he read palms.
And so everybody, suddenly there was a line like, "Tell me my fortune." Like my mom's like, "What's going on?" So that was my dad. And then when he, who had never been hospitalized, really for all intents and purposes was healthy, had a devastating stroke. So the story was, my sister and I are arguing. We do that sometimes. My sister are discussing very strongly,
passionately
discussing about two political candidates. And my dad said, they're all the same. And we left. And that was the last time we heard something really coherent from my dad, because my mom called and he was slurring his speech. He had one side of his face was drooping. He had a stroke, a devastating stroke. And that stroke robbed him of 10 years of his life.
Partha spent the night in the hospital with his dad every day for a year. So it was 6 weeks in the hospital, then the long-term care, and then not long-term care, then the
rehabilitation,
rehab center.
Yeah, but I knew that you'd understand, you'd get it, and there was something about our souls was, whatever that means, right? We're together. So, fast forward. He has a devastating stroke, really has needed care the rest of his life. He missed out on, his grandkids and enjoying it. He'd have loved teaching him all the brilliance. That's what made me very sad.
A big miss, yeah.
And I said to myself, what did I miss? Because he had no risk factors, nothing was wrong, and yet he had this devastating stroke. And so I said to myself, what could we do? What could I have done differently? I thought I was a good doc. I thought I was empathetic. And so that then led to me thinking about, what can we do to these so-called kind of healthy people that are having devastating problems? And so that at that time, I didn't know what I was going to do, but the research is now, gone much farther than when my dad had a stroke. And it really dawned on me, the gut is the center. There's so much research talking about the connection between the gut and the brain. Not very intuitive. For those of you who are listening and watching, they're saying, hey, what does that mean? How can the gut have anything to do with a stroke, right? I mean, am I nuts? It's so amazing that there's a connection between the gut and the brain. That's why I want to write about it. So others don't have to go through what we did as a family.
It's also kind of serendipitous because when you started the research and writing the book, my dad was the picture of health. I mean, he is the weekend warrior, 6-pack. I've got some great pictures we'll throw up on video, but he, the muscles everywhere, like super in shape, sharp as a tack, reading 5-10 books in every bathroom. There's a different book, a different novel, so quick-witted, the first one to get the joke, the life of the party. And now just a few years later, it's really hard because he's really losing his faculties. And I just think this work is really important for people like him. I mean, he's only 73. You know what I mean? So I just feel like he has a good 20 more years that he could have had. And what I try to tell people on our team is it might not feel important to you now, but we have to figure out a way to make it important, because I'm telling you, one day someone you love is not going to remember your name. And that is a devastating thing to think about. And you were telling us, we were talking with the team. It's like there are products and drugs and prescription medications and treatments for cholesterol or high blood pressure and cancer treatments. And now there's even weight loss medicines, but there is nothing that's going to help your brain. And so I just think this work is really important. That's one of the reasons we wanted to start the podcast too, is because when we started dating, we talked about how we're going to leave the world a better place and how are we going to help teach people what you get to teach your patients one-on-one all the time. And I feel grateful to help usher in those conversations. And I'm super excited about this book and how many people you're going to reach with it.
You know, the unfortunate thing was that it was your dad's biggest fear. Yeah. That this happening was his biggest fear. And it's just how things unfolded was terrible. She's so close to him, and I'll share this. So when she was young, Craig would write little notes, little post-it notes about how proud he was of her, or just small notes of encouragement that she kept.
Yeah, they're in a photo album.
He would go in with Callie to have a procedure, and they thought that was her husband because he looked so good. Yeah. So again, it's the same story, right? You look healthy, everything's A-okay, and this is happening. And the fact is that he's not alone. Every 3 seconds, someone is diagnosed with dementia. Every 6 seconds, someone is diagnosed with Alzheimer's. This is an epidemic. Every 4 minutes, someone's dying of a stroke in this country. So it's just a problem that it seems as if people say, well, he or she was just old and it's just their time, right? And I'm here to say that is not the case, that we can really thrive. We can have, folks like my dad, like your dad, thrive and contribute so much to society, right? And I'll tell you, in these times of tumultuousness, we need people that are stable and strong, and we're losing so many of these folks because of the fact that mental health is just not being addressed in the way it could be. And I think that if we go and talk about the gut and how we can optimize gut health, we can really make a change. And this is going to be not some, buy this and buy that, and it's going to be super hard. So we're going to make it simple, but consistent simples. One of my favorite athletes, right, Tom Brady, he said, in the Tom Brady way, he said, well, I just don't feel like I'm that much better than anybody else. That's debatable, but let's just go with that. He said, I'm not as good as, I don't think I'm better than everybody else, but I'm consistent with my changes, right? I'm consistent with what I do every day. So I offer that. We'll talk about if you are consistent every single day and make small changes, you can make some monumental differences in your life, I think. Yeah.
It really takes guts to do that too. It takes guts to put yourself first. It takes guts to focus on something mental when it's easier. And my parents are probably guilty of this. And one of the reasons they probably are as physically as attractive as they are is because they always focused on nutrition for like how it would help their physique or how they would lose weight or stay fit or exercise.
I don't think anybody would think your parents are good looking at you.
Oh, I didn't mean that. But
no, I'm just saying though. Of course they are.
But they're very
super attractive.
My mom was an
lady.
80s aerobics instructor, so she would we didn't have fat in our house.
No,
everything was low fat. We didn't have butter in our house growing up. So
it's a deprived childhood, Kelly.
We didn't.
There's some issues.
So there was good news with that, but I don't think there was a brain focus.
Yeah.
And so you really have to make those life-changing changes now before it's too late.
Yeah, and I think the way we approach it is I like to use the 5 pillars. And you know about this, and we talk about this to our patients. And to me, the 5 pillars are pretty simple. It's purpose, having a purpose in your life. Number 2 is nutrition, not a diet, right? Because to me, diet's a word for failure, because you get on a diet, that means you're going to get off a diet. It means the rest of your life is going to be horrible eating, Cheetos and hot Cheetos and stuff like that. Number 3 is, I think, spirituality. Like it doesn't have to be prayer. It can just be whatever you do for spirituality, mindfulness.
Right.
4th is, I think, community. And 5th is movement. And movement is not just going to the gym a couple times a week and just, lifting up some weights and then coming home and watching Sports Center for the rest of the day, or watching your phone. It's movement with purpose. To me, it's better that you actually go out there and move with your kids.
Yes.
And that,
This is how we live.
I think that's how we do it. So if we can take that same approach, I think we can also achieve good gut health. And I think that's the approach. It's simple, it's achievable, and I think anybody can do it with really not a lot of expense.
Right. And didn't they used to really focus back in ancient times about gut health being kind of the center? And I think we really went away from that probably, in the 80s, in the Jane Fonda days. And so where you were telling me a little bit
I
about
saw
that.
Jane Fonda at this.
She's amazing.
No, I saw it. I was in, where was it?
She's actually a great
I was at
example.
NatB in Miami, and for the television conference. And literally this woman comes running out at like 500 miles an hour. It was Jane Fonda. Anyway, she's great. What you were saying, I digress.
No, I was just asking, weren't you telling me about kind of ancient philosophies?
So I think
Chinese?
we think this is brand new because, it's like, we finally found the secret to good health.
Yeah,
It's
the
gut
key.
health. But thousands of years ago, Ayurvedic medicine really talked about the gut being the center of health. So Ayurveda, used in India and lots of places in Asia, talks about the gut and how you really work with your gut to center it. And in Chinese medicine, the gut and the spleen, there you are. That's the kind of the center of all of your health. And so this is not new, but we're rediscovering it. Lots of stuff, right? You guys know this. Lots of stuff that we think about now is a rediscovery of techniques and methods. So yeah, it's been on for a very long time, but I think we can revisit those and get the best that we can from those cultures as well. I'm a ringer. If you go to these teams, right? These guys have these volleyball tournaments or bowling.
This is news to me. Okay, let me hear
bowling
what you're gonna say
and all
here.
this, right? Well, you get
ringer.
you get like a semi-pro athlete to come into your team. And then they somehow win. So I'm a ringer because I was born in India and I had all this stuff that I learned, and it just kind of like happened to be that I also got trained in Western medicine. So it was a natural evolution of East meets West. So can I say a story? Can I tell you a story?
Yeah, please.
So when I was a kid, another reason why I became a doctor was because I nearly died. I'm smiling and saying this. I nearly died when I was about, I think it was 6 or 7 years old, and I had a disease called rheumatic fever. And I told you this.
Yeah.
We went to traditional doctors as well as alternative doctors. I was covered in garlic for one day because that was supposed to take the poison out of you. But what I guess my
But
point
who's to
is,
say it didn't a little?
maybe, who knows? Yeah, but it didn't work well for me. I don't think.
You needed
I
additional
just didn't
medicine.
smell good for a long time. You can now see I didn't have very
That's
many
right,
friends when I
that's
was
right.
a little kid. There's the
For
garlic
the record,
boy.
you are have hardly any BO. You don't.
I don't know. We had to say that. I didn't think anybody thought I had BO, but I was talking.
Well,
about
you were talking about garlic.
Yeah, but I was a
Smell.
kid. So anyway, so I they covered me with garlic. But the idea is that we thought of non-traditional medicine as kind of normal. And so when I hear about this stuff, the way I'm a ringer is that I don't have to think, oh, that seems strange. It's not at all. You got a billion people, right, thinking this way. So that it's funny how things work out, right? I became a traditional physician in the Western culture, but I was born in India and I heard some of the traditions that we had, and we knew turmeric could heal. We used to sometimes use turmeric when we didn't have first aid kits. We knew that it would heal. We knew that turmeric was going to be great as an anti-inflammatory agent because it was part of our lives. We didn't need to listen to a lecture about it. So that's what I mean by a ringer.
And
so, yeah.
also your mother and father both really focused on nutrition. I mean, so much so that your mom would go to the market and watch them milk the cow to make sure they weren't watering down the milk that they were selling in market.
My mom was unique
she
in that.
was a
There are not
cool
too many
lady.
people watching the cows.
Yeah.
But she did.
Well, they would water it down. I'm sure they would. Why wouldn't they? They're trying to sell more.
But she was great. She helped. And you're right. They emphasize nutrition and the connections and the stuff we talk about, cumin, we talk about ginger, we talk about turmeric. I think all those things are ingrained in me.
And I think what we're trying to say is even the 5 pillars are back to the basics
Yep.
as to what you were probably raised doing. now we're spelling it out more. And even in ancient times, those things were probably more focused on. And I think we've just really, in the industrial era, have gotten away from this whole mind, body, spirit, thinking of the wholeness of you. And we live that here at home. Or we try. I shouldn't say. We do our
though. I think
best
on the
to
whole, we
remind
do.
ourselves
We
to
do.
live in those 5 pillars and, be present.
But I will tell you, I ate a little piece of cake yesterday.
Well, we make those choices
Gotta
as
live.
well.
So it's almost like but it's real life that once in a while you have to also live a real life. It doesn't have to be that constrained. So I think that when you look at gut health, right? You look at gut health and you look at some of the ancient traditions, but we can talk about what the new modern science shows. Before, even 5-7 years ago, this was not mainstream at all. People didn't understand the connection. So the gut is connected to the brain in multiple ways. The simplest way is this kind of superhighway, I call it. It's called the vagus nerve, right? The
Yeah.
nerve that connects directly the brain to the gut. And
it's like a direct chat line.
correct. I like that.
It is. Well, you've said it. You've said it.
Yeah, so it goes right from the gut into the brain. So they talk, and it's bi-directional. The gut talks to the brain talks to the gut. So you have a direct access. And then there's this whole area of medicine that's really burgeoning, that's really exploding, which is called the microbiome, right? The trillions of bugs in your intestinal system that work with this communication, right? So some of the communication that is happening in the superhighway, the vagus nerve, are produced by these bugs. So for example, I'm sure you guys have heard about serotonin, and we've talked about the serotonin, the feel-good hormone, 95% of it produced in the gut.
That's nuts to me. I don't think normal people know that. So those are the
I'm pretty normal.
happy
Why am I abnormal?
neurotransmitters.
But anyway, 95% of serotonin is produced in the gut. And so it doesn't take a big leap of faith to say, what's going on? If these bugs are producing the serotonin, they're super important. They're also producing things like GABA. So they're producing actual neurotransmitters, the stuff that these guys, the gut and the brain, their communication system.
And one thing I have to say, and we're going to talk a lot about it in future episodes, but it's so fascinating to me, so I'm letting the cat out of the bag a little bit early. When you told me that the 3rd largest ingredient in human breast milk is not digestible by humans, it blew my mind. So that means that breast milk is feeding, the only thing that can digest it is the bifidobacter, right?
Correct. The bugs in your intestinal system.
So we, in ancient times, as we're talking, have been evolved to feed the bug so that the bug can communicate with the brain. See what we're saying?
I think what you're alluding to is that really what is actually going on are the bugs actually the ones who are dominating the picture, meaning
like
that
who's zooming who?
Exactly. And so who's actually in control? So now back to how they're connected, right? So if we talk about, so first the neurotransmitters are there. The second is our immune system. A lot of our immune system, the gut's lining has the most sophisticated immune system, right? Because why? You get every piece of crap coming through the gut. Your body has no say in what's coming through. You can put any piece of garbage in there. And lots of food is kind of just, they're almost what should I say? They're actually acting like it's food, but it's not. They put so much garbage in there. So the body, when you eat it, it resembles food to you because it tastes like it, but it may not be. And the gut has to figure out what goes in, what goes out, meaning through poop, and then how do you deal with that? And the immune system in the gut is kind of like your CIA, FBI, your local police, your highway patrol, all in one.
So they're totally activated.
Yeah, but they're patrolling your intestinal system so it doesn't go in the blood, right? So the difference between poop and blood, if you guys can see this, poop and blood is 1 cell layer thick. So that means within that 1 cell layer, if it's not working well, all the stuff you eat, which by the time it gets to the intestinal system resembles nothing like what you put in your mouth, can go into your blood. So the immune system is incredibly complicated and the most sophisticated in the gut. And the microbes that you have help to modulate that. That's how important they are. Because we've been together for so long, right? The microbiome, those trillions of bugs in your intestinal system, and the human body have been coexisting for probably over 1 million years, right? And outside of when we were human beings, the bugs have been there for 15 million years. But when you're synergistic, meaning you're living together for so long, you develop ways to help each other. And the bugs help us. We help the bug. How do we help the bug? We give them food, right? They would be dead without us.
Right.
So we're like a constant supply of food. We're this big, gigantic, clumsy organism that lumbers around, gathers food for them. We put it in our mouth. We are. We're like,
Well said.
we're going to get some food
Yeah.
and then give it to
Yeah.
the big micro.
Again,
and
who's zooming who? Like, are
Exactly.
they-
And so these bugs are getting food from us and we're lumbering around the universe getting it. So if we do that, and so what does it do with the food? It helps us digest it. So if we didn't have the microbiome, the right microbiome, you could have the same foods that you're eating, and it may be good or bad. If you have the wrong bugs in there, they can produce products that they don't help us. And that's the key, is that we have to be able to, we feed them, but we have to feed the right stuff to get the right population, the right group of bugs that can help us. We now know, we talked about Alzheimer's, we talked about stroke, that there are certain bugs, and we'll talk about this more in other episodes, but there's certain types of bugs that help you if you have a stroke. Amazing, right?
Wow.
And then certain types of bugs that are there. There's something called an Alzheimer's gut. Like you can see certain
I did not
species
know
of
that.
bugs that actually can exist in a higher proportion when you have Alzheimer's. That's how important these suckers are. So that's why it's important
do
to
we
talk
feed
about
those?
it. Right. And,
We gotta
and so
feed
that's
those.
why we're talking about this.
Yeah.
And what's nice is that you don't need to, call now and spend $19.99 and then 3 months later. It's not that. It's simple choices you make every day.
It's getting back to the basics.
Yeah, and I think that, so we talked about the microbiome, and we talked about what they're producing neurotransmitters, your immune system and how it functions is super important, and what kinds of bugs you have and what they do. The third one we talked about is also digestion of foods, right? Our carbohydrates, some of the nutrients that we put in there. Can you believe that some of the bugs actually make B vitamins and K vitamins? So it's really a much more complex picture, but the solutions are simple. So this is how we can modulate our gut, so we can give it not just the food, even movement. Can you believe this? So we talked about the 5 pillars, right? Movement and purposeful movement can change the environment of your gut microbiome, hence supporting the ones you want. So you have this thing called energy homeostasis. So when you work out and you actually move, the blood supply to the intestine is completely different than when you sit on your butt, pick up the phone and call, is this DoorDash?
Yeah, DoorDash.
I like 3 double cheeseburgers and French fries, and I like a big milkshake, thank you. And then you go back to your phone with your
and
TikTok.
scrolling.
And I think that they should do something revolutionary. Are you ready?
Let's hear
They
it.
should get in the damn kitchen, man.
Yeah, that's
Get
right.
in the damn kitchen, start
That's
cutting
right.
some stuff.
That's right.
Start making stuff. Our kids, by the way, if you ever want to come to our house,
They are.
whenever,
They're
they are.
Come here. In a little bit, our 4-year-old's probably going to come and make a coffee for
But
Partha.
that's the key.
Yeah.
So these kids make the food, and when does it taste the best?
When you make it yourself.
When they make it, darn it.
My sister came to visit and she was like, oh my God, your 4-year-old is like making an espresso. I'm like,
But he also does other things. He does any cooking that he can with his
Love it.
with this orange safety knife.
Yeah.
So what we're asking people that are young and old is to get out there and actually cook, because when you cook, that brings you joy, right? I think to me it brings you joy. It's creative, and then you also
it
know.
really does. I do think we are creative beings. And if we don't have that outlet, and you can use that in your food, I think we get depressed if we don't have that outlet for our creativity. And you can do that in
And you
cooking.
know what's in
and
your
you're with your
food.
family. That's tribe time. And you're eating healthy. So that's your nutrition. You're like you're like creating an environment of hitting all the pillars just by shopping. Wow, that's really hard. Like going to the grocery store. How is that such a chore? You're like shopping Like that is fun. It's actually fun to shop. So it's all the kind of way, and you
It's a
taught me this.
mindset.
It's the way you think about it.
It's a
Is it going to
mindset.
be painful and horrible picking out the best cauliflower? Or is it going to be, wow, what a delight that I get to go to this beautifully lit, extremely clean grocery store and pick out whatever fruits and vegetables I want, or farmer's market, which would be even better, versus if we think about people from other countries that just don't have that luxury.
But I'll tell you, it was a lot of fun when I was in India to go to these
Market.
vegetable markets and pick it out. But you're right, it's a mindset. But you're talking about young folks, right? And young people that have been brought up and grown up with convenience, not knowing what's in their food. You're absolutely right. We can hit all the 5 pillars. We try to do it as much as we can when we cook, but also what's in it. I tell my patients all the time, I treat a disease called Crohn's disease, and they say, what can I do? I said, the first thing you can do is cook and find out what it is that you're putting in your food, because you go to a restaurant, right? And it comes out and it looks beautiful, but you have no idea. We talk about this. No idea. First of all, you can't even maintain a healthy weight if you go to a restaurant, because you don't know what they put in it, how much butter or grease and crap they put in.
How much salt.
So you need to know. I think just by cooking, you achieve amazing things, all the things you talked about, plus the fact that and so to me, one of the biggest things you can do for your gut health is to be able to know what's in your food and cook and pick whole foods, just whole foods, and pick a variety. It's great to eat the same thing every day. Some people love that, but try to have a variety of stuff that you can pick from the color.
We tell the kids to be risk takers with food.
Yes, and
eat the
especially
rainbow.
Sean. I love when I've talked to Sean about being a risk taker. Sean's our middle
He's
son.
our picky eater.
Well, we don't want to call him out now, but I guess we just did. But the thing is that Sean, we tell him, but he's trying, and we make the attempt. But think about it, he eats lentils and broccoli. He's not a bad eater. We just want him to
We eat
have
dal and
more,
broccoli literally every single day.
Yeah, but we want him to be a more diverse eater, right? Have peas and things like that. So I think my patients ask me the same question. They go, so what can I do, right, to improve my gut health, and what can I do to improve my gut that's bothering me? And so it's important to tell people it is really about making these steps every single day, right? I mean, and then trying to instill these habits all the time. And I think we're going to talk about this in our next episode, which is about gut health. But I think it's really important to tell them make small steps every single day, right? Wouldn't you agree?
I read this amazing book when I was in college. It was by Jim Rohn. And he said, it literally changed my life, because I was like, probably drinking more alcohol than I should, certainly more than I do now, which is like nothing. But I was doing the Taco Tuesday and Pizza Friday kind of thing. And what he said was, it's not a candy bar a day that keeps the doctor away. It's an apple. So if you just make that one choice every time you go to grab the candy bar, if you say, no, I'm going to get a banana. No, I'm going to get an apple. I'm going to get an orange. If you just make that one choice, it will completely change your life.
Change your life, revolutionize it.
And this is what we've done. I mean, every time I'm like, well, what should I eat? I'm like, I'm going to cut a watermelon. I mean, I'll eat, you know me, I will eat a lot of
She does. So I catch her. She's got this like giant bowl of cantaloupe and stuff, just like randomly, which is awesome. Because guess what? Guess who sees that?
When you have a sweet
Our
tooth,
kids
that's
see
what I
that.
do.
Our kids see that. Us kids see you doing that, and it matters. So people ask you, what's the one thing that you can do? I think one of the best things you can do is add fiber to your diet.
Yeah.
And just add fiber to your diet. If you can do that, it does wonders. Why? Because number one, it feeds those little bugs in your intestinal system, right? So fiber is the preferential food for the microbiome. So if you have fiber, can be in multiple forms, right? There's people talk about soluble fiber and insoluble fiber. So soluble fiber is a thing that is soluble with water. Amazing, that's what it's called. And insoluble, it's not. So soluble fiber, my 4-year-old loves peas. That's part of it. My son Partha loves apples. So does Sean. That's part of it. And it also helps. Get this, people talk about, I need to have an injection in my body to be able to lower my blood sugar. Plus, I'm going to get thin.
Right,
These injections now and
Fiber.
medicines. But guess what? Soluble fiber does. control your blood sugar as well.
Nice.
By decreasing the speed at which your body's moving food and nutrients through, so it decreases the absorption and controls your blood sugar. It also decreases your cholesterol by binding to the fatty acids. So when you have fiber like that, it binds to fatty acids, it can actually reduce your cholesterol. So you can do simple things. It's not always drugs. Listen, I prescribe my good share of medicines when you need to, but it's not always medicines. And we, unfortunately, in the West, in Western medicine, we say, "Doc, give me a pill."
Yeah. Make it go away. Give me an injection.
Yeah,
Lose weight.
don't give me that stuff about diet. Just give me a pill. I'm good. Or so they always want me to give them medicine instead. If you get soluble fiber, and then when they get constipated, one of the biggest things that people come and see me for, and they're embarrassed to talk about. Well,
bloating,
I only go
constipation.
Only do a couple of times a week, sometimes a couple of times a month, and nobody's talked to them about insoluble fiber, right? So one of the things we have. What's one of the favorite things we have every Thursday? This is a quiz to see if she remembers what we eat.
Every Thursday, cauliflower.
Cauliflower.
I got it right.
Cauliflower. Ding, 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 ding. We have a winner. So cauliflower. Aloo gobi.
We make aloo gobi because we're vegetarian on Thursday.
Anybody
so we
that's
always
Indian
make
food or
aloo
is
gobi.
Indian is watching this or
That's right.
hearing this is aloo gobi. So cauliflower is an insoluble fiber, right? Wheat bran is an insoluble fiber. So and what does that do? It helps you to be able to be more regular and poop more instead of taking a laxative. People come to me, they've already taken 10 laxatives, but nobody's talking to them.
A lot of young people suffer from this too.
Oh, everybody, young, old, in between,
You see them
kids, everybody. Oh my God, constipation. And they're embarrassed.
To talk about it.
They think oh, I know you want to hear about this. I said, do you know what I do?
Right? Oh, you should see what we talk about during the dinner. Oh boy, had a gastroenterologist at the table. Jeez. And I grew up, speaking of my dad, he would always be like, well, let's not talk about that at dinner. Like, I'm married to a poop doctor. We talk about everything.
So I think that if you could just do the fiber with the soluble and insoluble, to me, that's a great start. And because those are called prebiotics, right? We talk about how you can make changes in your gut health. The prebiotics feed the good bacteria and the good bugs. And by the way, the trillion bugs are not just bacteria. We talk about bacteria a lot, but the bacteria, virus, fungi, protozoa, all kind of hung in there, and they're having a huge party. It's like a concert. It's a concert with all, the horn section and I guess the strings and all that. And the problem is, to me, a dysbiosis or a screwed up microbiome is when like the horn section just doesn't show up. Mm-hmm. And then it sounds like you're like, something's wrong here. Mm-hmm. And that's what happens to your gut. Something's wrong. I mean, we are now, this is embarrassing, but we go to a restaurant and if we don't eat well, we know it immediately.
Well, to be honest with you.
This is like the movie Frozen, right? We're finishing our own sentences. Remember that? See, anybody who's had kids who's watched Frozen know what I'm talking about.
Yes.
What is that she said? Remember that song? What did she say?
Where we finish each other's sentences.
Yes, that's it.
Jinx again. Yeah.
Anyway, I digress a lot. Go ahead.
No, so, we've become on this major health initiative for a good 10 years. And
ever since
in the
we were
beginning,
married.
yeah, exactly. In the beginning, it was tough. I had a hard time transitioning to not wanting to eat out. Not a lot, because I never ate out a lot. But even, once a week, twice a week. And I just remember thinking, gosh, it's like so much work. And now I just have a completely different frame of mind about it. And I don't really love eating out. So the only time we do is when we're traveling. And even then we try to get the kitchen.
Again, what we talked about, consistent changes made every day. Mm-hmm. And it's okay if you once in a while, but what happens if you go for a week on vacation and then every time you're on vacation that you sit there and eat crap,
but I think
difficult.
People think, I ate healthy and I ate a salad. And now a salad is definitely better than a hamburger. But I do kind of
think a piece of lettuce with one tomato.
Yeah, right.
That's what I remember going to, I think it was Applebee's.
Side salad. Come on, it has like one tomato.
Kill Applebee's there, but it's...
Yeah. The green lettuce. What is that? Head of lettuce. We don't even buy it. I don't even know what it means.
That's it. There's no other greens. But at least it's better than nothing. But what I'm saying is that we try to really not, even when we go out, we feel it.
These restaurants are not there to help you. They're there to make a profit. diet. They're not going to get
I thought they were there to make my gut
beef
better.
or organic vegetables.
This is a revelation.
So
that restaurants are there to make money.
they are.
You heard
And
it
good
here
for them.
first. You heard it here first.
Yes. So, and the standard American diet
Correct.
is
The sad diet.
sad.
And
Standard
it's sad.
American diet.
And so what we now have, we actually feel it when we go to a place where we know the ingredients are, and it sounds, I don't know what it sounds like, but we can feel it. But what happens is that when you consistently make these changes in your diet, you actually can tell when you're actually not following it.
Oh yeah,
And so
absolutely, right away.
We try to be consistent as much as possible and make those changes and not try not to, as much as possible, get away from it. We follow the 80-20 or 90-10 rule, which means that 80 to 90% of the time, right?
Yeah,
we
at least
do
90,
we do the right
sure.
thing. 10% of the time there's a birthday party or something that's going on. So
We do. We also are very heart open with that. It's like if it's someone's birthday, you're definitely going to have a slice
piece of
of
cake,
cake
of
and you're
course.
going to, that is
gotta
part
live
of
life.
tribe. Like you're not going to be like, no, I don't eat that cake. It's just, you might not
you don't
have
want
to
to be
eat.
that person. We've been there.
Yeah, we don't wanna be, I'm on a diet,
send an
or I
invite.
won't eat
You
that.
send an invite to the party. They give you like a list of foods that they're
Yeah, we don't do that.
tolerating.
We just show up and we eat what we like and we
But you
don't
know what I'm
eat.
talking about.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes, I'm not going to do that.
Oh man.
So you talk a lot about gut health and you've been teaching us a lot about that. I'm sure you talk to your patients all about these kinds of things. I never get to see that kind of color and those conversations. Talk to us about a patient that you've seen and treated and how you've kind of trained them, coached them, and how they've maybe come out the other side.
Yeah, so we do this I do this every single day. So there's an example that's also in the book, and it was a patient of mine with severe anxiety and depression. So to the point where it was disabling, meaning that they could not function, at work. They'd have trouble going out to events and their whole with their family, and so she was having issues to really function, and so she came to me, and she didn't come to me for that, right? She came to me with gut issues, but when as we talked more about it, it was clear that some of the anxiety and depression was really crippling her. So
Yeah.
I recommended same things that we talked about. Number one is to really be able to make incremental changes in her diet to avoid as much as she could processed foods, avoid bad fats, not just bad carbs, but bad fats. So to me, a pepperoni pizza is like the
double whammy.
the
Triple.
absolute worst, right? You got bad carbs, bad fats, bad everything in there. So try to avoid bad fats, but don't do it all at once. And then I added pro and prebiotics with her food as well as a supplement. And doing that consistently over several weeks, obviously she came to me for GI symptoms. That really got so much better within 4 weeks. But something amazing happened is that her symptoms of anxiety and depression within that time started to get better. She was, and this is with also decreasing the dosage of her medications that she was taking for
That's
those.
awesome.
So I think it's very rewarding when you talk about people who come in and they have symptoms that are not even related in their mind, but when you connect them, hey, you got this bloating and discomfort in your lower abdomen, but you also have these behavioral issues or psychological issues and mental health issues, and when you tie them together, it's amazing because people want, if at all possible, to go to the root cause, right? And if we
That's
can
right.
get the root cause, and often it's the gut. We're not talking about a panacea. It's not every single person, but it's a large percentage of people that we can help. And I think it's enormously helpful to people to know that there's hope, that it doesn't always have to be this way, that you're not going to be stuck with the life that's filled with lack of hope and no joy. To me, the first book that I wrote was, the living a joyful life, right? Ask Dr. Nandi the 5 steps to living a joyful life.
Yeah.
And we forget about that. It's not just about surviving or just persisting and just being there. It's like we have everything we have
And being
in our
present.
power to be living a joyful life.
That's right.
And you can go through your gut, which is awesome.
Yeah. And it's interesting that people will like put all this crap in their bodies. And then let's say comes through as a gut health problem, but also it could be like an eczema problem or some skin problem. And then they have to buy the expensive creams or the medicines to put on the skin. If they just looked at that root cause and they started eating and going kind of back to the basics, like you talked about the ancient times, I just think it would save a lot of people a lot of grief, because they're spending a lot of time and energy on the treatments for the things that what they're eating is causing them.
100%.
If they just went and said, you know what, let me buy my groceries, let me go to a farmer's market, let me chop some vegetables with my kids and make the
But how
food
many
at home.
dermatologists are telling them that? So you have eczema, you have something on your skin, you go to a dermatologist. They're not telling them that because you're probably seeing them for 2.5 minutes. Maybe 1.5 minutes. Because unfortunately, American medicine is turned into that, right? So who's going to talk to you about your gut health? They're not. And so that's why this is so important to talk about, because the fact is, if you don't talk about this, who is going to? And now you know that, you go to your dermatologist and say, hey, can I maybe make some changes in my diet before slapping on that cream? By the way, that cream kills your skin microbiome. People don't talk about the skin microbiome.
Yeah.
You slap that thing on and your skin microbiome dies. And it's amazing that you're not getting better. Maybe a second cream, or maybe the cream on top of a cream, and then you take a pill. It just continues on. And I'm not exaggerating, because if you look at the creams that are out there, they are like an atomic bomb on your skin microbiome.
Yeah.
Obviously, we're talking
You've
about the
always
gut.
been so passionate about what we put on our skin,
Oh,
which
100%.
is totally
It's the
another
largest
episode.
organ in our
Yeah.
body, and it's exposed to it. And we put all kinds of lathering crap all over it. And, in the skin industry, very rarely now they're starting to look at the skin microbiome.
What the fuck is
this
that?
is the thing. Since I've been married to this woman, my mouth has gone to hell. It is.
I kind of.
She's taught me words that I
Okay.
have not heard before.
So, Dr.
And this is
Nandi.
tough, because I think it's time for people to know what's really going on. I'm not the one who has
Who is zooming who
degraded
here?
the language in our family. It's
me.
you, Trashy Callie.
Well, I do know that if you don't
That's
have
going to be
anything
your
smart to
hashtag.
say, you use these
know what?
four-letter words. So
Dr.
I've got to
Nandi
get
and-
smarter.
Dr. Nandi and Trashy Callie. Hashtag Trashy Callie.
Thanks.
You
Well, what
heard
do
it
we
here
have?
first.
Okay, what do we have to look forward to the next?
More
episode?
Trashy Callie stuff.
Yeah, we have a lot.
She's going to be
talk
cussing
about.
like a sailor.
That's right. You're looking forward to more four-letter words.
They'll be like bleep, 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 bleep. It's good. You should be a rapper.
Guts is a
Have you thought
four-letter
about
word.
becoming a rapper? Because you could do that, and you could get away with it. And just be bleeping everything out.
I would
On
not
the
be
next
good at that.
episode, we'll be talking about gut health, because people use that term and just throw it out there, and nobody knows what it means, because it's like, what does that mean? And then they're just like, oh, this
We're
is
going to
gut
dive
health.
deeper into the microbiome.
Well, yes, and also what actually defines gut health, because often there are people selling potions and lotions and this and that to make it all better. You can put like stuff in your coffee that'll change your life, all kinds
Right.
of very interesting things that may or may not have some facts. So we'll talk about that in more detail. And I think it's important to be able to set the ground rules for that, at least from our perspective.
That sounds fun. We'll have a lot to say and do
On to that.
then. We'll see you guys the next time.
Hopefully more cleaner language.
Yeah, right. No
next
more
time.
four-letter words. But like I said,
PG-13.
guts is a four-letter word.
Although,
So
Deadpool became the one of the highest grossing movies, like cursing and
when
killing.
are we going to see that?
Well, as soon as we're done with this, I'm sure Trashy Callie is out.
Well, look, we have all these kids that can't see it yet.
Kids.
Yeah, we're always seeing
they're
kid
awesome.
movies.
They're
We'll be
awesome
seeing
kids.
all. We just saw Inside Out though, or
Inside Out 2, we've
So
seen
good. That's talking a lot about
Despicable Me
mood and
4. This
anxiety.
is where the dad embarrasses the kids. When the kids say, by the way, Dad, it's what are you doing? Because I'm laughing hysterically, and my kids tell me that we're
embarrassing them.
Yes.
In the theater.
Yeah, that's good. Though.
More of this to come on the next episode of Heal Your Gut, Save Your Brain. Make sure you never miss an episode by following on Apple Podcasts or subscribing wherever you listen.
And if you want to learn more, get a copy of my book, also titled Heal Your Gut, Save Your Brain, available everywhere books are sold, October 1st.